Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Think Future podcast. I'm your host, Cal Bucas, and once again, we're coming to July from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation startups, the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe and drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. That'd be greatly appreciated. Well, we made it. We hit the 500 show mark. And I thought I should probably just take a week off. So I did. I took a week off. Last week, I was not here. And I was getting emails. Cal Bucas, where are you? What's going on? I said, just took a little break. Chill. I'm back. Don't worry. Back in your podcast queue 5 days a week, as per usual. So what's happening today? Well, I always thought it was really interesting when I'm working with organizations that in some cases you have terrible situations going on. Sometimes you have a terrible process that everyone hates. Sometimes you have a terrible employee that everyone hates. There's some kind of terrible situation or terrible individual or just something terrible, right? And as a consultant, you come into this situation and you think to yourself, wow, that person, that situation, that process, that product, that is terrible. Someone should do something about it. And if that thing has been around for a while, if that person's been around for a while, that product's been around for a while, and nothing seems to change, you can tell it's terrible. If it's a terrible process, employees are hating it, and they're hating having to do it, and they wish they could work around it, and sometimes they do work around it. They find out ways of not having to do it or do something different. If it's a terrible employee, they hate working with them. They try to get off projects with them. They complain about them. If it's a terrible product, they try to do something about it. They try to change it usually. So you think when something terrible like that, you see something terrible like that in an organization, no matter what it is, whether it's a product or service, an individual, employee, leader, whatever, but it stays there, it doesn't change. This doesn't change. The product continues to be sold. The process continues to move forward. That employee, that troublesome employee, never gets fired or reassigned. That leader is allowed to continue doing what he or she is doing. Whenever you see that sort of thing, you have to understand that there is some other hidden process or individual or leader somewhere out there who wants that. They don't want that change to take place, even though it appears that if the change took place, things would be better all around for the organization, the employees, the leadership, etc. Even though it appears to be like that on the surface, the reality is that the reason that horrible process, employee, or leader is in that position or product is because someone, somewhere, is continuing to support it, to prop it up. For example, let's say you had a situation where you have an employee who's terrible, right? Terrible employee. Maybe they have a bad attitude, or they're very negative, or they're problematic, or whatever. And what ends up happening is that you complain about this employee, you try not to put this employee on your teams, but this employee ends up on the teams. And you wonder to yourself, after maybe months and years of working with this employee and this employee being around within the organization, even though they're very disruptive, they're still around. And you have to ask yourself, why is this employee still around, even though they're being very disruptive to the organization, even though everybody around them seems to think that they're a terrible person and that they're a terrible effect. They have terrible effects on everybody around them, but they're still around. Why do they seem to continue to be around? Why hasn't some leader come in and eliminated them somehow? Well, someone else is supporting them. Someone else is propping them up. Someone else wants things to stay the way they are. So that's why it's so difficult to change things within organizations, because no matter what you see as some type of negative force that's making things worse within the organization, there's probably some other force maintaining that negative situation for some reason or another. It could be, God knows what the reason is. But the reason why the change doesn't occur within the organization is because there's forces keeping that in place. And if you do really want to incite change within the organization, you have to find out what forces are maintaining this horrible situation. And once you've figured out the forces that are maintaining this horrible situation, then you can work around it to figure out how to make that change. But like I said, if you see something that's obviously detrimental to the organization and it continues month after month, year after year, then someone, somewhere, likes it just like that. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.